just detail for us how this affects you. You know, this judge upheld this law, but obviously the whole situation is pretty fluid and complicated. How are you today affected on the ground by this?
Okay, so just a disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, right?
Sure.
This is extremely frustrating, this ruling. New York State actually voided this law and changed it before the judge got around to issuing this ruling. So even New York State is not defending this as lawful. But the federal judge still comes down and says, "Oh yeah, I think it's fine." So I think the federal judges down here and their refusal to uphold the Constitution, refusal to defend the Constitution, is just horrible. It's really bad. And I want to go ahead I want to talk to you a little bit about what this law did to us and how these emergency laws keep coming down. It's like a tidal wave of law after law after law, and you go to court and you wait around for a decision. You know, you get 3 more laws before the first one was adjudicated.
Right. And well, for those who don't know, we did a podcast earlier with a colleague of yours who's the founder of the New York State Jewish Gun Club, Zvi Waldman. But anybody who doesn't understand what's going on here, can you just describe how this law, as it was originally enacted, worked?
Okay, so we're going to go before Bruin, or we're going to go where we're going
after Bruin. So this
is for 100 years we had to fight in New York to even get a carry permit. Right. You apply, you have no criminal background, you have no mental health background, you apply for a permit, and you didn't give a good enough reason. Well, they're targeting synagogues, they're killing Jews. Not a good enough reason to get a gun, to get to hold a little Glock on your person when concealed when you go to synagogue. Okay, so Bruin comes down and says you got to issue these to everybody who applies for them. Immediately, in the middle of the night, the legislature in Albany, supermajority Democrat, come out and say, well, we have to do the Concealed Carry Improvement Act. They always have these, Orwellian terms. And they say, well, you can get a permit, but you can't carry in a sensitive area. And really, the term sensitive area is a misnomer, because Bruin is talking about a sensitive government area, in the legislative body, in the polling booth, in a court. And New York State said, well, a sensitive area includes any public property. It includes a whole bunch of places, but one of the places it includes is any place of worship or religious observation. So if I wear a kippah, is that a place of religious observation? Can I never exercise my Second Amendment rights to carry? A place of worship. So does that mean if I get together at work with 10 guys, middle of the day to pray? We pray 3 times a day, Orthodox Jews. So, we pray in the morning in a synagogue, we pray at night in a synagogue. In the middle of the day, we're at work, we get together, 10 minutes, we throw it together, we call it mincha, we pray. Is that a place of worship where we gather to pray every day? It's unclear. And I'm a felon if I walk into that prayer group carrying, right? So am I going to exercise my Second Amendment right to carry, or am I going to exercise my First Amendment right to pray?
Right. Yeah, so, it's unclear to some of that stuff, but it's very clear that they definitely mean synagogues, right?
Well, they definitely mean synagogues. And place of religious observation, the Attorney General tried to argue, well, maybe it means another place of worship, gathering, places, meaning they try to reference some sort of groups that don't have establishments, places that they go out and pray in the field. Yeah.
So
again, none of this is in the law.
Broadly. Yeah, they take it very broadly, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but places of worship are places of worship. And, and that's one of the problems. Well, one of the problems is I can't exercise my Second Amendment right and my First Amendment right. The federal government is not allowed to discriminate on the basis of religion. So we had when COVID came out, we had the Archdiocese versus Cuomo. And Cuomo said, well, you can't have big stores, you can't have small stores, you have to have, they had the red zones, the yellow zones, the green zones, but no synagogues. You can't pray in a synagogue. And the courts came out and said, well, you can have a tiny synagogue, you can have a massive synagogue, you can have a tiny church, you can have a massive church. So church is not a proxy for a large gathering. It can't be. And the New York argued that, well, when we say church, we mean a large gathering. And the court said, no, you're targeting religion. That's what you're doing. And that's what we argued here as well. When you say you can't carry in a synagogue, it doesn't say if it's a 10-person synagogue. It doesn't say if it's a massive synagogue. It doesn't say if it's in New York City. It doesn't say it's out in the bungalow. It's just a synagogue. And the federal judge here made the same error that the federal judge made in Archdiocese versus Cuomo at the trial level, saying, well, you regulate a lot of places. You regulate subways, you regulate airports, and you regulate synagogues. And the Supreme Court didn't take that in Archdiocese v. Cuomo, and I think this is going to be overturned on appeal as well. You say church, place of worship. That's regulating religion. That's discrimination on the basis of religion. That's not lawful.
And so that's how you feel about this restriction, right? This sensitive place restriction, that it's not just infringing on your Second Amendment right to carry a gun, but also on your First Amendment right to worship.
Correct. And we never would have brought this case in the Southern District if we wanted a good Second Amendment ruling. The Southern District is a horrible Second Amendment place. And we see in the Northern District, we're getting all these good Second Amendment rulings about, where's what the historical, history is, tradition, for regulating synagogues or regulating sensitive places. But for the First Amendment, you shouldn't be discriminating on the basis of religion. It's a pretty basic concept. And we're very surprised that this judge would come down and say, yeah, we're regulating places of worship, but we're also regulating a lot of other stuff, so it doesn't matter. That's just gibberish.